This is Historian. This is the welcome screen. Today we're going to talk about the album planner. I use the album planner for every project that I do. I love it. Not everybody uses it, but I'm going to introduce you to where it is, kind of the mechanics of how to navigate that space, how to create albums, and kind of show you my process of how I use them for my photo books that I create at Artisan, but there's other uses for it. Okay, so from their main space, you can access albums over here. You can see my albums. So these first three tabs are always available. Welcome, My Media Library, My Albums. So if you're in My Media Library, it's still available up here under My Albums. So this is the main workspace. You have where you can create bookshelves and albums up here. Down here is your bookshelves. And down here is work area. So if you're in your media library, if you're familiar with Historian, your work area is on the right normally. So if you would add a photo to the work area from your photo media library, when you go into My Albums, there we go. It's going to be in the same work area. It's just located in a slightly different place. Now, this is how you get to My Albums. Suggested uses for album planner. On your outline, I have photo books, like I use it for my family albums, my travel books, many more. So like a graduation book or my son's senior pictures, photo gifts. So if you were wanting to create a puzzle, then you could pick your favorite pictures from maybe a trip or of your pet and put them into an album planner and kind of narrow it down and then send those over to Artisan to create a puzzle. And blankets and wall art and more. So it's kind of a great way to like gather your thoughts before you go to the next step, whether that next step is a project in Artisan 6 or a slide in album. So if you're not familiar with what that is, we have older Pickfolio albums. We could pre-plan out the photos to go in what slots. And so you can kind of do the same thing now with other photo slot albums. And then you can even like type in the journaling that you want to go in and print those journal boxes off as photos. And then you can quickly make a slide in photo book. Other uses, you can create a print shop photo book. So this would be a very, very simple photo book with not a lot of options, but you can go straight from Historian to the print shop at Forever to order it. And I'm not going to cover that today. Slideshow. So if you wanted to do a slideshow of your favorite pictures to show a group of people, this is going to have to be around your computer or connected device like a TV or a monitor. And there are music options that you can have to create this and everything. But if you wanted to change the order of the photos that they're going to go through the slideshow, using the album planner allows you to do that. So it doesn't matter which day or time the picture was taken, you can tell it what order you want it to go in. And then print planning. For example, when I was remodeling my living room, I threw a bunch of pictures that I might want to print off to put in frames. Or if I'm creating a brag book and I'm kind of throwing all my favorite pictures together and then from there narrowing it down how I want, which ones I want to use. So that kind of helps you do that as well. Looking at My Albums, the layout, again, we talked about bookshelves, work area, and then I call these album tiles. When you're looking at the bookshelves view, it shows all of them. And then if you narrow it down, like I can do family, it's just going to show my family projects. I can do vacations and just see my vacation projects. So it kind of helps you narrow it down so they're not all in one big pile. Bookshelf. So to create a new bookshelf, if you want to kind of separate out your different album in the album planner, you can either right click on My Bookshelves, create a bookshelf, or you can see at the top here, new bookshelf. Once you click that button, you would just name it. So sample and okay. It's going to put it at the bottom. You can left click and slide up and move it where you want it to be. I didn't know you could tuck it. You could tuck it or just put it in that order. So really sliding and moving it is how you would move that around. Deleting, you can delete an album only if it's empty, or bookshelf only if it's empty. So right here, you would do delete. Are you sure? Yes. If I wanted to delete one of these other ones, it's grayed out because there's stuff in there. You can also, so renaming. So that would be, let's say, we go here to edit. So I right clicked on the bookshelf, edit, and I'll move it up here so you can see it clear. It's DDI4, digitally done in 4 was a class that we took a long time ago. And so I named that DDI4, and I can rename it to done in 4. So next, step 6. So albums, ways to create. So you can create albums up here in the album tab at the top. There's 3 ways to do that. You just click a new album, and this kind of wizard pops up and it walks you through step by step. You can also create a quick one from pictures in the work area or from tagged images. So for example, if you tagged a bunch of photos, Grandma's Brag Book, then you can create, Grandma's Brag Book 2024. Then you can say from tagged images, and your tags will pop up and you can select that tag and create it from those tagged images. If you do from work area, it's going to bring the same wizard in. So you'd want to do, these are the ones I talked about, printing straight at forever or the photo slot album. But the one I want to talk about today is the album planner. You would hit next, you would name it. So demo, and then you would say where to file it. So I'm going to file it in other, and then we'll hit create, and boom, it created it right from, those photos that were over here in my work area. I'm going to hit clear to clear out my work area. And you can remove photos from your album planner easily. You just hit remove image. It does pop them out here, so you have to clear again. Other ways to create, we'll go back, we'll close this out. So we looked up here. We also talked about, you can right click on any bookshelf and create a new album using those 3 methods. An empty album from the work area, from tagged images. You can also duplicate. What you can is, I created a kind of a template. So once I show you my technique, if you like that, you can create a dummy one and then duplicate before you start creating a new album. And let's see, where did it put it? Note to self, you have to be in the bookshelf that it's in for the copies to show up. So right click, duplicate, and there it is. So it shows up in the album that you're doing. Okay, moving on down. Ways to open albums. You can open albums, family. So the one that I'm working on now, Foss Family Memories, Volume 2, I would double click. So that's one way to open. And the other way is right click, open. So pretty simple. Edit album. So just like the bookshelf, you can right click and rename. So you can give it a name. You can also change the bookshelf that it's on. Journal boxes. So let's go into this one. It comes in fully zoomed in. So your bottom left-hand corner is this slider bar. Slide it all the way over, most of the way over, because you don't need to see these super big. We're doing general organization here, and I'm going to show you how to, what journal boxes are and how to create them, how to change them. We'll move to the bottom, and I'm going to right click and add a journal box. The settings that it has will look different than what it looks like on your historian if you've never done this before, because the default is like a tan with like a dark brown outline and a small font. But when I was working in this class, I set the default to this because I wasn't making a bunch of them. So I'm just going to hit accept. So you can see now I have a new one down there. Let's say I know I have new pictures coming in of Smoky Mountains vacation. And there you can see Smoky Mountains Vacations, pretty easy, to read. And then when I'm bringing in new photos and I'm organizing, I can see that. Let's say if I'm using this in a project that, let's say Smoky Mountains has multiple days, then you would want to insert another journaling box, and up here, maybe have an alternate color for your subdivision. So I usually use a lighter shade of green. Then I would do the Great Smoky Mountains Day 1. I'll slide this so you can move things around very easily in here. I would pull in Day 1 pictures in here. So let's say Day 1, we went to 3 different places. Same thing, if you want to, if it helps your brain to organize it into smaller chunks, you may have went to see a thing that, like, one hike here, and then you went to another hike, you would put a subdivision and you would divide them. So this will make more sense in just a minute. So let's journal boxes. You can, like I did, right click, insert journal box. You can also right click on a blank space, add journal box. If you right click on a photo that has been labeled and you insert a journal box, it's going to bring in the words that you use to title that. So that would save you some typing. If you've already labeled your photos, it would put that in there. Up here, there's a journal tab and a journal, add a journal box button. So again, lots of ways to do the same thing. Depends on, what works best for you. Your default font size, again, is going to be much smaller. I like it big because I'm doing kind of like if I had a tabletop and I had a bunch of printed photos and I wanted to lay them out and organize what I was going to work on. It's easier for me to see at a zoomed out view, the photos and then the journal cards. So to edit within the journal box, the size and everything, you would go up here. It's something simple, font that's readable. Then you would change the size, make it, really readable. And then I like to have it centered. Do what works best for you, but just something that it's quick and easy and readable. Kind of pick your divider colors. Typically, my main color is the blue. Then my next division is green. And then from there is light green. So I kind of break it on down like that. And then my brain knows that. My brain knows this is the main section is blue. The next, subdivision is green. And then bright green is the next one down. Another note is, like, let's say I'm going to make something orange. And I'm going to say, for Mom's birthday party, if I have the notes or cards from people, I can say to myself, scan Mom's B-Day cards. Or I could say, find invite I sent to her friends. So I could put that in the page, here's the invite I sent out to her friends, and here's some of the cards that they sent to her or gave to her that day. So you could give yourself reminders right while you're planning the project. And so when you go to make that page, like, oh man, I forgot, I need to go do that. So that kind of gives you a note to do that as well. Another use for journal boxes could be, you could go out and Google something or write yourself a note about what, a specific memory from that day, and you can just journal it right in there as a note to yourself or to help you tell the story later. Setting defaults. So setting defaults on this, that one's selected. I can go up here. I can sample it, and then I can apply, or I can save as a default style. So then when I do a new one, it remembers what I like. So you would, kind of figure out your color scheme and the font and size that you like, and then save it as the default. So whenever you add a new one, it comes in that way. Let's say I add a new journal box. I type it up, the next subject in my book. And then I'm like, oh, this needs to be a different color. I could just go over here, sample, and apply, and that will, I don't have to do all the steps of picking the color and blah, blah, blah. So how I use this when working in a project we'll close this one out on vacations, photo lovers cruise, and I'm going to zoom again. It likes to come in really, really big. So in a vacation book, I use my default blue on day one, and then the subdivision, so things that happen each day would get the green, and then if it has further division, not sure if I had any that went that far, there. So this one is a subdivision of, we went on excursion that day, and so this is into, I broke down that excursion into smaller bits. So that's how I use the color. That's the day color, that's increments of that day. And then this particular increment is a tour that we did, a dune buggy tour of Cozumel. And so these are different portions of that tour. I started using this because of the overwhelm of digital images. There's so many of them. When you have a physical image in your hand, like if you're doing traditional scrapbooking, it's a lot easier for my brain to work with that. But I would use the photo box to organize my printed pictures before I went to make a 2-page spread. This helps me do the same thing, but with a digital image. I've also found that, so let's, leave this project. This is a trip. Let's go to like a family book. Or if you're like somebody who does like a day-to-day adventures or things like that, where you do your books and you take pictures as you go, you might have ones that you take pictures a lot of. So it might be like for our family, we would have maybe game nights, and I might take one picture of the board game or a couple pictures of Scott and I playing a game. And then we have a game night where friends come over and I'll take a couple pictures of that. So that's a few pictures here and there. Well, if I have a few pictures here and there, that might turn into actual layout. I wouldn't want to do a page with one picture, but I might want to do it if I found 6 pictures here and there of that topic. And this allows me to do that because you can take those random pictures and organize them into a spot. I didn't mention, but I do like to use what's called a tab. I take one of the journal boxes, make it bright pink because it stands out, and put the word tab. That's telling me where I am in this album planner. The pictures before it have been sent to Artisan to make pages, and I've already finished the pages on these topics. So these are the next ones I have to send to Artisan. And you would, to do that, you would, I might even send my note to myself in there. I wouldn't use it on a page, but it would help me remind me like, oh yeah, that's what we did. And so you would just select them, and then you would right click, share, send to Artisan, these, 34 pictures, and then it would prepare to send it. It would pop up and say, this project. And so I could add it to that project. I'm not going to because that's not the correct project, but you get the general idea. And then when you get over into Artisan, they will be in your photo bucket to play with. And once I'm done sharing them, that's when I would slide them to the left. Okay, that all left go. I selected the wrong thing. Here, you would slide it to the left of tab. Then the next time, it might be the next day, or it might be at the next weekend crop 3 months from now that I get to work on this project. Now I don't have to remember where I left off. I just go out here and see, well, what are the last pictures I sent over? And it kind of makes it more clear for my brain. So one example of where you might have pictures here and there over time, like for us, we like to flower gardens. And I might take a picture of a bloom by our mailbox or by the front door or the backyard and over the seasons. And that'll be a couple of pictures here and there. And so that over time will be enough to do a page. So garden pics is another example of that. So let's say you kind of see how we shared it to Artisan, but how do I add new photos to an album? So let's go to my media library. We'll just grab some random pictures. We're going to put them in the work area. We'll go back to that project, and so if I use that template, you can see I have some empty ones here that I can just use. So I'm going to call this trip to Pacific Northwest summer. This wouldn't go on this album anyway, but you would make like that header there, and then you would make the next. This is from like day 4. So day 4, June 30. And then right here, we're going to call this chart. I don't know how to spell this, but chart gardens. All right, I'll slide that over. All right, so these photos are all from that portion of that day. They're added. I'm going to move on. I'll hit clear, go back to the media library, and then add the next section of photos. And this one is from a castle, which off the top of my head, I can't remember. We're going to call it random castle. I can't remember. So we'll go here. And then this one, I want to be this color. So we're going to sample. We're going to make that one green because I know it's a subset of day 4. I'm going to say, there we go, random castle. Look up name. All right, then I would select those, drag there, clear. Go back. And let's say you want to do more than just one topic at a time. So this next one, we went to this lighthouse and then we explored the streets of Victoria. We'll say that. So I'm going to move all of those over there. So this one, I'm going to apply that. This is going to be lighthouse. And then Victoria. So then I'm going to, this is where I normally do. I normally send a chunk of photos like a month at a time when I'm working on family books. And there's going to be all different topics every month. And so I would drag and drop them to different portions of my album planner. And then when I'm done, then I can start working my way through it to create my pages. All right. So I'll go to, I think it's here. Drag to lighthouse. So I don't want to hit clear because I don't want to get rid of all of these. Instead, I'm going to right click, see if I can do it on this page. There we go. Right click, remove from work area. Then I can grab the next section and I'll slide down and that goes into Victoria. And then I can clear because the rest of them are done. So that's the main process that I go through is for me, it would be like I do a 6 months at a time, a photo album project. I would take a month at a time, pictures, get them edited the way I like. Then I dump them over here in the work area, and then I file them away into topic organizers. Then return to get the next month's of photos until I have all the photos ready for my project. Then I start making pages. Vacation books, like I said, by day and what we did until I get the pictures ready and I can start making pages. Yes, Cindy.
If I bring in pictures to the media library, but there's some that I don't ever use, can I delete them from the media library?
From your media library? Yes. So the question was if she has photos in her media library, but she never, you mean never within here or within, okay. So you mean over in the work area?
I've never put them in a planner. I don't need them. They're too many.
You can delete pictures at any time from your media library.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. And like I said before, like if you decide, no, I don't want to use this in a project, you can remove the image and then clear it. That doesn't delete it from your media library. It's just out of your work area.